Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagatgurum Padapadme Tvayo Shritva Pranamami Muhur Muhur Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine Sthapakaya Chadharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishnaya Te Namaha. Namaste everybody here and also online. Welcome to our 7th class on Karma Yoga. So today we're going to be starting chapter 4 of Karma Yoga. And today the topic, we're going to go through chapter 4. And here, those of you who have the text, the chapter 4 of Karma Yoga, what is duty? Now, you have to understand, when Swamiji gave this talk in the West, they had no idea of this dharma, what this meant. Dharma and the idea of universality of dharma, seeing everybody from their own standpoint, seeing all religions as the same and not one's own religion as superior to another. That concept was foreign to them, okay? So sometimes as we're going through this text today, some of these ideas are not so important for us and other ideas are more important. So we're going to give more emphasis to those, a few passages which I think are very relevant today to us in our lives. So let's begin. Chapter 4, what is duty? So Swamiji begins, it is necessary in the study of Karma Yoga to know what duty is. If I have to do something, I must first know that it is my duty, and then I can do it. The idea of duty, again, is different in different nations. The Mohammedan says what is written in his book, the Quran, is his duty. The Hindu says what is in the Vedas is his duty. And the Christian says what is in the Bible is his duty. We find that these are varied ideas of duty, differing according to different states in life, different historical periods, and different nations. So this is quite what Swamiji has said so far. Actually, everyone here is actually born with that idea. But it's new for the American audience at that time. He continues, the term duty, and what's the Sanskrit word for duty? Huh? Kartavyam, okay, and the more basic word we think of, dharma. One of the aims of life, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, the 4 aims of life. The term duty, like every other universal abstract term, is impossible clearly to define. We can only get an idea of it by knowing its practical operations and results. See how scientific Swami Vivekananda is. When certain things occur before us, we have all a natural or trained impulse to act in a certain manner towards them. When the impulse comes, the mind begins to think about the situation. Sometimes it is good to act in a particular manner under the given conditions. At other times, it thinks that it is wrong to act in the same manner, even in the very same conditions. So he's mentioning something important here. Duty is not something that's so easy to understand. You know, like when Thakur met, who was it, Devendranath Tagore? When he met him, it's in the Gospel, and Thakur started to speak a little bit about Dharma and the Atman, and Devendranath Tagore, what did he say? Ki bolechen? Oh, ami ai shab jani. I know all that already. And then what? I think Ramakrishna, he came with Mathur Babu to see them at, I think, Jorasanko. Yeah. And then what did Thakur tell Mathur Babu? Jar boli, I'll say in Bengali and then translate in English. Jar boli je, ami gyani, ami dhani, ami jogi. Mane, ei ami teke bhagavan labh hoy. Someone who says, no, he said, ei ami teke, ei agyan teke, na gyan teke. Is this coming from this idea that's saying, I'll translate it into English, saying that I'm a gyani, a dhani, I know everything already? Does that come from the attitude of ignorance? Does it come from the attitude of knowledge or ignorance? So what I'm trying to say is these things are very nuanced. Well, Bangla, what's the word for nuanced? Sukha, probably, right? Mine is subtle. So Swamiji continues. He's going to talk about how in each tradition, he talks about if a Christian finds a piece of beef before him and does not eat it to save his own life, or will not give it to save the life of another man, he is sure to feel that he has not done his duty. But if a Hindu dares to eat that piece of beef or give it to another Hindu, he is equally sure to feel that he too has not done his duty. So this duty, Swamiji is telling us, everyone sees duty from their own standpoint. Even the idea of what you call killing, Swami Vivekananda will raise the question, is there any universal idea of duty? Can we think of that? Anyone here or online, can you think anything that is universally accepted by everybody? Say the idea of killing another person. In the Sanskrit, we say hingsa. So even that, as we know in the Gita, when Arjuna did not want to go and fight in the Mahabharata war, what did Krishna tell him? Glaibyam masmagama partha na etatvayi upapadyate shudram hridaya dorbalyam tyakto tishtha parantapa. So, O Arjuna, give up this idea of faint-heartedness, of cowardice. Go and do your duty. So in that aspect, Swami Vivekananda is advocating, Krishna is advocating, go and kill the opponent, the enemy. So how do we reconcile this idea of duty? It's not such an easy thing. So Swamiji is very scientific. He talks about this. There's two ways to think about duty. One is objective. He says, to give an objective definition of duty is thus entirely impossible. Everybody understands objectively, say that I build some hospitals, say that Dr. Tapash Kumar, he's working he's serving patients. Objectively, everything looks good. Okay. Yet, there is duty from the subjective side. What does subjective mean here? Our intent. Sankalpa. Me and Ashokta, we might all be doing service to others. Now, whether that service is papam or punyam, can we tell from the external? Say we're all doing sheva to the people outside. I'm handing different clothes, you're handing different clothes to the poor people. But how do we know? It's not all the same. So for a spiritual aspirant, what Swami Vivekananda is saying, this subjective aspect is much more important than the objective aspect. Is that clear? So Swamiji continues in the text, yet there is duty from the subjective side. Any action that makes us go Godward is a good action and is our duty. Any action that makes us go downward is evil and is not our duty. In this aspect, Swami Swahananda, the former head of the Hollywood Center, he told this young monk who had joined, the young monk had asked him, "What is my duty in life as a sadhu?" He was thinking, okay, to give lectures, to clean the dishes, to do cooking. There we have to do all those things. Not like here in India that, we have workers to do those things. There you have to integrate the 3 H's, head, hand, and heart. And the hands, especially driving, cooking, cleaning, that's given more emphasis there. So Swami Swamiji told him, your duty, the primary duty of a monk is what? To think of God. And actually, you could take it once, also the primary, what Ramakrishna said, the primary duty of a householder also, to discharge his responsibilities, and in the midst of those discharging those responsibilities, to think of God. So any action that makes us go Godward is a good one, and anyone that makes us go downward is evil. So we can think about that. Even when we do something successful, we were successful in some endeavor, afterwards, what does that do? Does that make us, does that enhance our ego? Does it increase my attachment to this mind-body ego complex and to this world? Or does it break that away and take me more inwards and upwards? So Swamiji continues, but it is not possible to make out with certainty which acts have what kind of tendency in relation to all persons of all sorts and conditions. There is, however, only one idea of duty which has been universally accepted. Do not injure any being. Not injuring any being is virtue. Injuring any being is sin. In Bengali, onoloke nishta korona. Don't disturb another. Now you might say, but Swamiji, you just mentioned the Gita. Krishna is telling Arjuna to go and kill others. So how do you reconcile this? Now, that idea of reconciling this is, as I heard one devotee told me today, as Swami Bhuteshanandaji had said, if this action is swartha, is it selfish or unselfish? Am I doing it to increase my own ego? Is it being done from an egotistic standpoint? Or is it being done from a greater standpoint? For the cause of the nation, for the cause of others? So this is, as Swamiji continues, it is therefore our duty to do the work which will exalt and ennoble us in accordance with the ideals and activities of the society in which we are born. So Holy Mother said, Jekani Jamon, Shekani Tamon, and that means when in Rome, do as the Romans. You know who did that? Who was excellent at that? Swami Vivekananda. When he went to the West, amongst many, he was not even, sometimes when we go to a different country, we maintain like some type of a distinction. Okay, so these people have this customs, they have these ideals. They're separate from me. My culture is better than your culture. My religion is better than your religion. That it's a subtle superiority complex that comes. But whatever Swamiji was, many of his American friends, they saw him as their very own, as a friend. And if you see in the letters of Swami Vivekananda, he addressed many of his friends as sister, brothers. In Bengali, we would say nijer lok, ghore lok. You could see it as, so this is this spiritual attitude, how to mix with everyone as if they are our own. Then Swamiji says below, I'm just skipping a little bit, that when he went to the America, the Parliament of Religions, he was wearing this type of outfit, and he was wearing a pagri, right, a turban. Then one time, somebody came and they pulled at the turban. Swamiji asked the person, he says, why did you do that? And the man replied, why do you dress that way? The sympathies of these men were limited within the range of their own language and their own fashion of dress. So unless you speak like me, unless you dress like me, then you're different from me. Then, like in Bangla, apnar lok noy, you're not my own. Swamiji continues, that very man who asked me why I did not dress as he did and wanted to ill-treat me because of my dress may have been a very good man, a good father, and a good citizen, but the kindliness of his nature died out as soon as he saw a man in a different dress. So, that's one example he's giving, but I want all of us to think, are there circumstances in which we also act like that towards others? It may not be with a person from a different country or a person with a different dress, but it's something for us to reflect upon. How we treat others when they're a little bit different than us. How you might ask, how is this spirituality? That just means being a good person. So I would cite the example of the Holy Mother. Remember when Sister Nivedita, Sarah Bull, and Josephine MacLeod, Swamiji sent them to meet Holy Mother in Bagh Bazar. It was the first time that Holy Mother would meet people from a different country. And she's an Orthodox Brahmin widow. So Swamiji was a little bit worried. How would his disciples, his friends be received? Tapore ma ki korechen? How did Mother act when they came? She sat with them. She acted with them, as we say, apnar lok, my own people. She sat with them. She even had food with them. And most importantly, it's just not sitting with them. They felt, as Sister Nivedita would say, when one comes to the Holy Mother, one always feels like they have a home. Hey, amar nijer body. So that feeling of one's ownness. This is what I feel Swamiji meant, this bhav, if we can inspire that when we meet other people. So Swamiji concludes on this point. Therefore, the one point we ought to remember is that we should always try to see the duty of others through their own eyes and never judge the customs of other people by our own standard. I am not the standard of the universe. I have to accommodate myself to the world and not the world to me. That last line, that's a big thing today. I have to accommodate myself to the world and not the world to me. So, I think the topic today was the art of cultivating open-mindedness without losing depth. So I wanted to talk about this point. And especially I would say that what I've seen, sometimes in the name of being universal, we can lose ourselves. Let me give you an example. I mentioned this to Ashokta earlier today, that what did Swamiji say about Ramakrishna? The uniqueness about Ramakrishna was that he was both, his mind was as udarata, as broad as the ocean, and gobirata, as deep as as broad as the ocean, as broad as the sky, and as deep as the ocean. Then Swamiji continued, normally all of us, we have one of two tendencies. One tendency will be what? To be very deep. But that depth comes at a cost. It comes at the cost of what? Fanaticism. In Bengali, Thakur Ramakrishna would say, aghe, one-sided. So we see many people say, my religion is the only way, my book is the only way, follow me or I shall kill you. This is aghe, one-sided. Okay. That's one side. We know that that's bad. But yet at the same time, there's other types that they try to be too broad. This is especially amongst Hindus, I would say. Shobi bhalo. Every religion is good. I saw this in Harvard. Every religion is good, but they don't know much about their own religion. As a result, they might limit, say, Hinduism to just the idea of caste, the idea of politics, nationalism, to that extent that they focus on Hinduism. So that is, you might be udarata in one sense, but what's the evil consequence of that broad-mindedness? Superficiality. Bangla superficiality, what does that mean? Anyways, the superficiality. Ramakrishna gave the example that when you're digging for water, if you dig in too many places, so you're going all over the place, but if you dig in one place and you keep going deep inside, then you'll get the water. Otherwise, you won't get the water. So this depth, in Bangla, this gobirata, this is very important. Both have to be combined together, not just one. Is that clear? So one of the challenges for us, we have to recognize our own nature. If I tend to be more, okay, I've studied I know my own religion pretty well, but maybe, am I a little fanatical? Then how can I step beyond, take some small baby steps beyond that fanatical tendency? And similarly, if I'm too, all religions are great, but I don't know my own religion. When I was at Harvard for this divinity course, one young girl was there, so she was very much into activism, joining in all the different religious clubs. She's a Hindu girl, born in America, so she was very much into activism, casteism, these types of things, politics, what's going on here. And then I talked to her. I said, it's good that you have this, you want to feel oneness with other religions, but do you know your own religion? Nijir dharma jani. Jano, that you know your own religion. Have you studied the scriptures? So that is first important. Develop a foundation in one's own tradition. Okay. So let's go, I'm just going to jump a little bit below. Swamiji continues. So we see that environments change the nature of our duties. And doing the duty which is ours at any particular time is the best thing we can do in this world. That's very interesting, because a lot of times when we have something to do, all of us are thinking, I wish I could do something other than this duty. Is it not? Except for Ashokta. Now Ashokta's, he's retired, he's a Vanaprastha stage. So now he's kind of free. He can go to the different ashrams. But everybody else, if you're still not at that stage, we might have a particular duty. Jodi eta na kori onor kaj kori. If I didn't have to do this work, I could do something else. So Swamiji says, doing the duty which is ours at any particular time is the best thing that we can do in this world. Let us do that duty which is ours by birth. And when we have done that, let us do the duty which is ours by our position in life and in society. There is, however, one, he continues, by position, by life and society. So whatever we have to do, let's do that. You know, the different stages of life. If you're a student, then we should be studying. That is our dharma at that time. That is our religion at that time. Swamiji continues, there is, however, one great danger in human nature. That is, that man never examines himself. Never examines himself. We were talking about this earlier today. This idea of vichara, discrimination. He thinks he is quite as fit to be on the throne as the king. Even if he is, he must first show that he has done the duty of his own position, and then higher duties will come to him. So this is kind of an important thing, especially when we're younger. We try to think that I should be given a higher position. This is not suitable for me. I always want something higher. So Swamiji says, when we begin to work earnestly in the world, nature gives us blows right and left, and soon enables us to find out our position. So this is very true for those of you who have engaged in work. One thing that will come are blows. And those blows are like the greatest teachers for us. This is what Swamiji is saying. When these blows come, why are these teachers? They enable us, they give us self-knowledge. They bring out our lower tendencies. And when these tendencies get brought out, say that I'm working with, I'm doing some work, someone says something, I get insulted. At that time, my ego comes out, anger comes out. Does that not happen to all of us when we are involved in work? Say, Dr. Tapash Kumar, you're doing so much, you have to go to the medical chamber. All the patients will not be gratitude towards you. They're supposed to treat the doctor like gods, but that doesn't always happen. At that time, when that comes out, Swamiji is saying we have to examine ourselves at that time. That's the opportunity for growth, for self-growth. You know, when we're bachas, when we're young people, at that time our parents are with us, they're correcting us. But after you reach a certain age and a certain stage, who is going to correct you in this world? Nature may, but you have to be ready to receive the instructions. So no man can long occupy satisfactorily a position for which he is not fit. This next line, there is no use in grumbling against nature's adjustments. We all grumble, we all complain, especially in the field of work. I'm not getting paid enough, so many things. He who does the lower work is not therefore a lower man. That's important. He who does lower work. We see that the person who's outside and he's cleaning the streets, washing the clothes, that's not lower work. That's not how a person is to be judged. He who does the lower work is not therefore a lower man. No man is to be judged by the mere nature of his duties, but all should be judged by the manner and the spirit in which they perform them. Let me repeat that again. No man is to be judged by the mere nature of his duties, but all should be judged by the manner and the spirit in which they perform them. This is it's important for all. Even in worldly life, even in a company, even in school. I remember when I was at Harvard, they had, part of your grade was how you did on the examinations. Another part was participation. Another part of it was attitude. If you're complaining about the class, if you're complaining about the professors, that comes off. In a company as well, if you're complaining about everything, that becomes, that's evident to others. And especially in spiritual life, how to stop ourselves from complaining so much. This is a big problem, because even Holy Mother said that the nature of the mind is like water, to flow downwards. So how to stop it from engaging in that? Now, so Swamiji continues. In fact, the best example of this is Have any of you heard of Brother Lawrence, a Christian saint? If not, there's a beautiful book by him. It's called Practice the Presence of God. And in that, what did Brother Lawrence do? He became one of the greatest saints in Catholic tradition. You know what work he was? He was not a Mahanta. He was not a great lecturer. He was the cook and the dishwasher. But he reached such a stage that he said that there was no distinction between the time of prayer and the time of working in the kitchen. He just couldn't see that distinction. Everything was being done to please God. So that's our ideal. So Swamiji continues, later on we shall find that even this idea of duty undergoes change, and that the greatest work is done only when there is no selfish motive to prompt it. So this is the ultimate for a spiritual aspirant. Obviously our goal is in Bhagavan Labh, the realization of God. But for us as spiritual aspirants, practically our duty when we do any kind of work, the real measure of success on whether it is karma or karma yoga is not the amount of money we're making, even though that's important for people living in the world to pay your expenses. The real measure of success, am I becoming more unselfish? Is it making me, as Ashok ji said today, is it making us less swartha, selfish and more unselfish? And that's something that we all have to examine for ourselves. When we say this vichara, in the Vedanta Sara that's there, the Sata Sat Vichar, discriminating between the real and the unreal. So this is a very important thing. That real and unreal, you know what that is in karma yoga? Is this action, is it leading me towards God? Is it being done from an unselfish perspective or a selfish perspective? Swamiji continues, yet it is work through the sense of duty that leads to work without any idea of duty. When work will become worship, nay, something higher, then work will be done for its own sake. This is important. This is in the Gita as well. Work is done for its own sake, not for even the sake of realizing God. This was Buddha's aspect. This is even higher than doing it just because good will come from it. Work being done for its own sake. Karmane vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Swamiji continues, we shall find that the philosophy of duty, whether it be in the form of ethics or of love, is the same as in every other yoga. The real object being the attenuating of the lower self so that the real higher self may shine forth. Swamiji is ultimately saying that as we're talking about karma yoga, we discussed Raja Yoga. Same thing in Raja Yoga, same thing in Bhakti Yoga, same thing in Jnana Yoga. Attenuating the lower self. What is the lower self? In the Yoga Sutras, we say these are klishta vrittis. These are these passions. Raga, dvesha, abhinivesha. This sense of I, mine, the different types of lust, greed, jealousy. These are the lower tendencies. And through this karma yoga, Swamiji is saying these things should gradually get lowered. I find that this is a great obstacle in many of the devotees, including myself too, that we don't acknowledge this. I'll give you a good example. In my calf, I have some knots in one of my calves. Knots means like the muscles have been injured, so they become like a ball. So anytime you touch that ball, it feels very sore. These knots, we have these types of knots in our minds as well. And we have to be aware of them. The problem is we don't we always blame others. We never look inside. So these ideas of jealousy, anger, hatred, they sometimes come out every day. And it's okay for these things to come out. They're inside all of us. But the thing is, then what we do is we start to blame the other person. And so what many of our senior monks have said, everybody struggles with this. But what many of our senior monks have said, even if you cannot catch it then, during the end of the day, during meditation, at that time, this reflection, what have I done during the day? I was working, I had this interaction. Then catching that. Do I have any hostility towards anybody? Did I interact in a way that, did I criticize anybody today? Catching all these things at the end of the day. And then when we catch them, what does the Vedanta say? This sata sat vichar, cutting them with the knowledge of discrimination. As one monk recently told me, if you don't take care of it during the nighttime, if you don't think, you know how you're like the kidneys, Dr. Tapas, the kidneys do cleaning at nighttime, right? So similarly, during our evening meditation, before we go to sleep, we should clean that stuff out. Otherwise, what happens is, if we don't clean it out during the night, it can settle into the unconscious. And if it settles into the unconscious, it can go from lifetime to lifetime. And we don't want that. Our great monks, one of the presidents of our order, I won't say his name, I was asking, sometimes we see these monks from afar, and we think they're great. They must never get angry. They must never have any kind of greed, jealousy, nothing. But sometimes if somebody misbehaves, they also feel bad. They get insulted. Yes, even the president of our order, they can also feel bad. So what's the difference between us and them? So one of the presidents of our order, Swami Ranganathanji, if somebody insulted him, he might feel a little bit bad. He would go into one small corner. He would do this vichara on the Atman. And immediately within like 15 minutes or so, he'd be fresh again. Nothing inside the mind. Another monk, I've heard this even about our President Maharaj, Swami Gautamanandaji. If somebody says something, maybe the mind might temporarily get agitated, then he does japam. And then it just gets dissolved. So this type of thing we all have to actually practice. How to dissolve those things. We should not carry that hostility and all those things. We have to be very careful. And first we have to become aware of that. Our problem is a lot of times that we're unaware of it. Does that make sense? We have to practice awareness of it. Now, in our Hindu tradition, we don't talk much about this, except in the Yoga Sutras. We don't talk about this. In Western psychology, they talk a lot about this. Does that mean Western psychology, is that better for them? In Christianity, they talk about this idea of sin. So are they better than us? No. Let me explain. Our idea, when we're engaging in this self-examination of the lower tendencies, is only for one purpose. That is to objectify. What does Vedanta say? What do the Yoga Sutras say? Our thought, I am not my thoughts. Right? I'm separate from my thoughts. So the moment we can objectify these lower tendencies, that objectification is 90% of the battle. Okay, so I thought this. Becoming aware of it. Then letting it go. Offering it. Offering it, you could say, into the fire of Brahman. Or if you're a devotee, offering it to Thakur Mother. Mother, I did this, please help me and let me not do this again. Okay, these are practical ways that we can deal with these things. Even Swami Vivekananda, one time when he was in South India, how many insults he received. They found out that he was a Kshatriya, not a Brahmin. So one idea was that only Brahmins could be sannyasis at that time. So when they kept poking Swamiji that you're a Shudra. Then one day Swamiji just fired back, if I'm a Shudra, jodi ami Shudra, then tomar there shob Shudra of Shudras. Yeah, then you're the Shudra of Shudras. He's just firing back. Now sannyasis take an oath. They should not get angry. So one devotee asked him, Swamiji, you said this on that day. Was that right to do? And Swamiji, what did he reply? What would we reply first? If someone asked me, a junior asked me, I would probably reply, how dare you ask that to me? My ego would come out. But what did Swamiji reply? Heavens know that was not right, but I got angry, what to do? See, he's not attached to that anger. It's okay, we don't have to be perfect, but we do have to be cognizant. We do have to practice this concept of self-awareness. So, when we practice this, Swamiji says, the object being the attenuating of the lower self so that the real higher self may shine forth. The lessening of the frittering away of energies on the lower plane of existence so that the soul may manifest itself on the higher ones. So this is another concept that we talked about in Raja Yoga. Conservation of energy. Why does a sadhu practice brahmacharya? We talked about this in Raja Yoga. And why is it also the ideal of even householders? Even all householders I see in our devotees of our order, invariably as they get older, they also then start to live like brother and sister with their wives, and also then they become vanaprasthis and they become really like sannyasis at the end. I've seen this repeatedly. So this is our goal. Avoiding frittering away the energies. This is in our brahmacharya mantras, and that is that, I won't say I'm not allowed, but this Holy Mother warned about this. Pada ninda korona in Bengali, which means don't criticize others. Why? Because that becomes, the mind, it becomes like an endless pit. Once you begin criticizing others, that activates all the lower tendencies. Say that I find something negative about somebody. Holy Mother said, the moment I criticize that person, that quality, that papam of theirs, it comes to me. How? Because if I'm thinking about that person and I'm saying that they're a cheat, that they're distrustful, whatever, they're a liar, then I have to first bring that quality in my own mind. So it colors my own mind. So the idea is, yes, be aware of everything, but don't ruminate on it. So I'm just going to go to the bottom now. The only way to rise is by doing the duty next to us, and thus gathering strength, go on until we reach the highest state. So that's the idea. Then Swamiji will talk about this, a young sannyasi went to a forest. That story, there he meditated, worshipped, and practiced yoga for a long time. After years of hard work and practice, he was one day sitting under a tree when some dry leaves fell upon his head. He looked up and saw a crow and a crane fighting on top of the tree, which made him very angry. All of you know the story. Then he said, "What? You dare throw these dry leaves upon my head?" And with these words, he angrily glanced at them, and a flash of lightning came and struck the crane, and the crane died, due to this sadhu's, his siddhi power. And then afterwards, he went to meet an ordinary householder wife, old lady taking care of her parents and her husband, who were all sick. And then he became impatient with the lady could not come to him and serve him, so he became angry. So yeah, even the sadhus become hot-tempered sometimes. And then that lady from afar said, "This is no crane, so I'll come to you, let me first finish my duties." So that sadhu was wondering, how did this lady know that I had killed that crane earlier? So this Swamiji says that this elderly lady, by doing her duties in life, she acquired that same type of spiritual power that sadhus obtain through their meditation, done sincerely. So let's just conclude right now. So Swamiji wants, in conclusion, Swamiji says, this is the secret he wants to say, the secret of work. Let the ends and the means be joined into one. When you are doing any work, do not think of anything beyond. Do it as worship, as the highest worship, and devote your whole life to it for the time being. This is the most important idea. Whatever we do, we have to put our whole mind into it. And that quality of putting the whole mind into it, that becomes transferable when we're in meditation. That's one way. The other way is what Swami Brahmananda said. What did he say? Put 3/4 of your mind in God and 1/4 in the work itself. So these are two different ways to do work. Swamiji says one way, Swami Brahmananda says another way. And you could ask, okay, do they contradict? I would say no. I would say it depends upon the duty itself. If you're a train conductor, if you're driving, and I'm a passenger, so I want you not to be thinking of God, then I want you to put your full mind on the road. Or if you're a surgeon, or Dr. Tapas, if you're examining me, at that time I don't want you to think of God. You should see just be fully identified with the patient. But if you're doing if you're like writing letterheads, putting stamps on letters, at that time, so it depends upon the nature of the duty. If you're cooking for others, then at that time doing japam, they said, Holy Mother used to do 100,000 japam every day, even just while cooking. Okay, so that's our. So in conclusion, I'll just sum this up, and then we'll just take a few questions and close. So in conclusion, what Swamiji talked about today, this idea of duty. On one aspect, it's dharma. It's what we're supposed to do in life. And he raises the question that everybody thinks from a religious perspective that my religion is the best. Is there any universal aspect of duty? Swamiji says, yes, not to cause injury to another. That's the universal duty. And the real duty of that is unselfishness. Secondly, what we talked about is this concept of, rather than grumbling, that whatever we have before us, we should do that well. And slowly, by doing that duty well, higher and higher duties will come to us. The third aspect is that when we engage in work, blows will come to us. Our ego will come out. Our lower tendencies, our jealousies, greeds, anger, raga, krodha, kama. And at that time, we should be aware when I'm becoming imbalanced, when I'm becoming too selfish. We should cultivate that sense of awareness, like a sensor. We should not, how many times do we see people on the internet, anywhere, anybody, they lose that sense of balance, they lose that sense of proportion. So we should be careful not to lose that sense of proportion. That means what? As karma yogis, our sense of discrimination is always operating, not just towards the objective, not just towards, okay, what kind of person is this? What kind of person am I dealing with? This is important. At the same time, my own reaction, being aware, am I acting in the proper way? So that was another thing he talked about. And then finally, he says that the goal of this karma yoga, remembering, is as we engage in things and as we slowly reduce our selfishness to the extent that we reduce our selfishness, and then to that extent, this Atman begins to manifest. And one final point is that be careful, any disagreements, any strong dislikes that we form during the day, be careful not to take it into the night. Try to, during the evening meditation, try to dismiss it through discrimination. Okay, so those are the 4 main points that Swamiji talked about today. And, excuse me. Okay, so now we'll take any questions if anyone has, or any point of discussion, and then we'll take from the Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat.